Okay. Uh, so anyway, I did get one of the Vision Pros, and managed to get it on the first day of release, actually. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm sure you've all seen different reviews, and you've seen the physical hardware. Um, and if you want an experience with it, I do recommend going into one of the Apple stores and doing one of the demos. Uh, my Vision Pro comes equipped with the Zeiss inserts to account for my eyeglass prescription, as I have a cylindrical correction. And I wonder if I put these on briefly, we're getting into most of the presentation, if you will be able to see how it looks to someone watching me. So I'm going to put it on. Okay, there we go. And I was kind of hoping that it would show my eyes, that it would be sufficiently fooled by the screen here to do that, but it's not doing that, which is unfortunate. But I'm looking through it now at my computer screen, so I could actually continue to present with this thing on, but I don't think I'll do that. I had hoped, as I will show you in the presentation, to actually do this through the Vision Pro using a Zoom client. There is a Zoom client for the Vision Pro, but it has a problem with its versioning. Uh, it wants to be updated, but they haven't put the updated version on the Vision Pro App Store yet, which makes it somewhat problematic. Um, but that's the way this goes. So I do have a little presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share that with you. So first 2 weeks, and as I stated, it was unfortunate that I could not use the Zoom on it, um, but maybe next time, who knows? So I'm going to talk about the bad stuff first, and then talk about the good, and then I'm going to follow that up with a my own little quickie demo video uh, on it. So we'll do that toward the end. So what's bad? These things that definitely need to be fixed. I'm sure that Apple's on top of it. It is lacking some key software components, and in particular, the spatial video editing, which is a very sad oversight that it should have been ready with the launch. Another problem is that there was not that much support out there. I was hoping for Canon and Adobe and so forth to be ready to support it as well. They're not. Not entirely fair to say that. Adobe does have a plugin that will work with Adobe Premiere. It's not theirs, it comes from a third party. But nonetheless, with all these editing tools, there's nothing that is really good for Vision Pro image or video editing. I think that will change. I mean, it is getting enough interest that I think it will be developed. Okay, some disturbing things that people keep talking about, but I think they're really not so bad. It is expensive. Well, of course it's expensive. It's the first unit out. This one has clearly been designed to be a developer tool. Uh, there'll be something else in the future, I'm sure, for the general audience. But it is that. Heavy? Yes, it's heavy. It comes in at about 1.5 pounds, actually 624 grams. Um, However, I put an asterisk there because it turns out it is actually lighter than the Meta Quest 3, which is interesting. People keep complaining about all this weight. They say, people should be using Quest instead, but Quest is actually heavier. A lot has to do with the headgear that you choose to use with the unit, because you have this comfort gear here, but there's also an over-the-top headgear that relieves you of some of the weight problems. And then finally, I think the things that have been causing the most amount of negative comments is people have not yet figured out what they're going to do with it. So they pick it up and they, what is all this about? I just don't get it. By the way, on the 14th day from the introduction, there were a fair number of returns of the product to Apple. And I don't know the exact fraction, just a number that was notable. I think that's because Apple did announce before the launch that you had 14 days to return it for full refund. And I imagine a lot of people out there said, okay, that's going to be my plan. I'm going to order one, uh, try it out for 13 days, and then be right back in the Apple store handing it back to them. So I'm really not too distressed by the fact that there were those returns. By the way, for the online influencers and pundits and so forth, it's been overwhelmingly positive. Marquise Brownlee, Justine, quite a few others, Matt Wolf, they all have been using it and been saying they're really blown away by it, despite the price, despite the weight, despite the fact that it is still very much beta. Good stuff. Well, first off, this is definitely the best 3D display I've ever used, and I've used quite a few. So right there at the top, that's the important thing. The other thing is it makes 3D capture relatively affordable. So it actually brings it in the reach of the amateur creator, the very low-funded creator, because you can really make 3D content and get it out there. Also, I want to mention the gesture controls work very well. I was, wondering about that when I first read about the device, but it turns out that using your hands is fairly effective. A key point, a 3D display is for 3D applications in media. 2D applications, the best I can say is are underwhelming. So for the good, you have all the inherent 3D stuff, jig, which I'll be showing you, Inside Heart, Dinosaur Encounter, and so forth. Other things such as Pages, Word, Notes, Freeform, those are really 2D apps. And it's nice to have them there in the Vision Pro so you can use them to reference documents and so forth, but you're not going to be creating directly into those particular kinds of applications with the Vision Pro. It just really doesn't make sense. So you're going to use it for 3D, and 2D is just there as, for convenience. Will it replace iPhone, Mac Studio Display? Probably not. I have seen people saying, oh, it's going to be, the iPhone replacement. It makes the iPhone go away and that's what we will use. That probably is not true. I mean, it's a completely different category of device. There's not been something like this before. So I think that is what you're going to see. Now, I know Charles is waiting for the Zardoz ring, and maybe one day we'll have contact lenses that do all this stuff. But for now, I think it is by itself in its own category of device. And of course, Apple kind of says that too when they refer to it as being a spatial computer. So, iterating a little bit, the most important features was a staggeringly good 3D display using MVHEC VC. I put HV there. I should have put MV, and I'll explain what that is. That works in both 3D and 2D. 3D media plays as 2D on flat screens, and you can make and distribute media with one package for all users. That's, I think, something that's going to be very important. And I don't know why I kept putting HV instead of MV, but it really should say MV for multi-view and then HEVC for high efficiency video codecs. This is related to the high efficiency image format, which you may know that Apple has adopted as being the preferred image format. These are open standards, they're usable by all. And a point of fact, HEVC is the successor to the H.264 video codecs. Officially, it's the H.265. And the official file extension is MP5, although I see people continuing to use MP4 even when it is HEVC. So, but it's going to be the thing. Everyone will be moving to this. It is an open standard. It is, and been basically anointed as the replacement. There's a lot of types of 3D for digital displays. Well, an early type was the color separated left and right images, which come from a single standard video frame, um, viewed with special glasses, and they can be used with any kind of color monitor, but the 3D is not very good and the color was not very good, and so on. Then you had polarized, separated left and right images from a split video frame, each projected onto a specular screen viewed with special glasses. And this is viewed only in specially equipped movie theaters. Then with glasses such as the Meta Quest, you have side-by-side images from a split video frame that are viewed on separate displays for each eye. Okay. Now, the MV-HEVC is multi-view video with synchronized video frames. One is the hero frame, the main frame, and the other is the difference between the left and right eye views. So using the hero frame with plus or minus the difference frame, you can create separate views for left and right eyes. So the 3D MVHEVC is in fact a special case of the multi-view video where two tracks are being used to generate the 3D. Multi-view is actually intended to allow, rather one of the first reasons for it was so you can have many different camera angles with the same video package and just choose between them. Okay, the side-by-side 3D, that's easily converted to the multi-view and vice versa. I've experimented with that going back and forth. And your Apple Video Toolbox does support that. So it's all there for developers to start making applications for it. There are problems with some types of cameras due to fisheye effects because there is no geometrical correction yet. But I'm sure that will be taken care of in short order. Now, in 3D media, the more recent movies are the best. And I marked these four down because they're really incredible. If you do get a Vision Pro yourself, you certainly want to look at Monster Hunter, uh, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Planet Dinosaur, and in particular, Adventure, which is an Apple Plus original production. The other three will be viewed as what looks like a standard wide-angle screen projected in front of you. But the Adventure one is done as a full 180 panoramic three-dimensional view, edge to edge, where you can turn your head side to side to see different parts of the production. And it is absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful production. Okay, so sure, that by itself, well worth the price of $3,500. Well, no, not really, but if you do get a chance to try out a demo at the Apple Store, that's one of the things you want to pop up on right away to have a look at it. So who's it for? Well, this version is going to be for 3D designers and their clients. I think you'll find cases where we'll walk into a architect office and they'll say, okay, here's your new building, and they'll slip a pair onto you and say, walk around, take a look at it. It's also going to be for 3D media creators, as we have seen with the movies, and also I think short subjects that will be coming out. Training via 3D simulations, that works very nicely. There's an application called Jig that already shows you some of that, and it looks to be a very good way to handle training. And then in engineering, science, and math, we often have a need to visualize 3D structures, and this will be a good tool for that purpose. Okay, so those categories, I think, will be the people that will be leaping right onto this. Your general audience, well, they want a less costly device. And it is notable that Meta has announced that the Quest will very soon support the NV HEVC. So the same media that is produced from the Vision Pro will be playable on the Meta Quest. And that's probably a very wise move, by Meta to do that. And I'm certain Apple will do a more affordable device. Um, we don't know what year that will happen. I you know, as I believe Charles pointed out to me, probably not this year, but maybe 2025 will be where you'll see that. Maybe we'll hear something about that at WWDC coming up in June. Distribution channels. Well, of course, if you're a Vision Pro user, you can use your iCloud. For a general 3D audience, YouTube will need to support these multi-view files. They do not yet. And if you upload an HEVC file to them, they promptly torture it and turn it into an MP4 file that loses all those features. However, I think they probably will move to it. We'll see. Maybe a little hesitation on that because Google hasn't indicated any particular buy-in to this version of 3D yet, but we'll see. And I think you'll find other third parties will just jump on the distribution market. So I imagine you'll see websites popping up that will offer to let you upload MV files and let other people download them and so forth. And that'll be especially true once we see things like MetaQuest supporting this format, because that will give a much larger audience for it. All right, I'm going to show you a little amateur video just showing you some features. And I should note that if you go to YouTube, you will find all manner of really good demonstration videos, from people like Brownlee and Justine and Matt Wolf are the three I always think of, but there's many others. So here's my little video just to show what's going on. The first thing I'm going to show you is 3 different ways to record a 3-dimensional video. Now, of course, you don't get the experience with this presentation because I'm showing you the flat version of it, but I just wanted to show you how different they look. And as I start this, the first one is with the Vision Pro. And the Vision Pro does a 2200 by 2200 pixel recording. So if you think about it, that means that in the middle of this, you can crop down to a standard 16 by 9 HD format cinema piece. So it's actually giving you more pixels than you need. And so that makes it quite usable for that purpose. Now let's see, the next one coming up, I believe will be done with the Canon camera. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. Still Vision Pro. No, the next one is done with the iPhone 3D mode. Now, the iPhone 3D mode directly gives you the 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels for HD. It has a very dramatic 3D effect. Oh, I should have said, but the Vision Pro, of course, has a very good 3D effect. iPhone Pro, not quite as much, but you do see it. You do get a nice parallax feeling from it. So that's another way to do a good 3D content creation. Okay, from here I'm going to skip forward to the Canon. I have a dual lens for my Canon R5 camera, and that's what you see here. I shot it at a different time of day, so it looks different. but this is with the dual lens, and it is a little bit smaller than the Vision Pro does at about 1900 something pixels by 1900. You can still crop out the middle to get a regular cinema feature. In fact, I've already done that with this one. Uh, you can see a little bit of the fisheye effect toward the back and around the edges. But at this point, it's not all that bad. This could be usable. Of course, I do hope that they will improve the Canon EOS virtual reality software to handle that fisheye problem. Um, they developed that for use with a different kind of viewing classes, and hopefully they'll see the usefulness in providing a correction for use with the Vision Pro. Okay, I'm going to move now into some of the apps. Okay, now I went out to the walkway at my apartment to do this because you need a good amount of room to walk around. And inside my apartment, I basically view any unused spot of floor space as being a good spot for a bookshelf. I don't have that much move around room, and you need to have, a good like 10-foot by 10-foot area for some of this stuff. So the first item is going to be encounter dinosaurs. And I'm sorry about the wiggling about, but bear in mind I'm wearing this on my head and not holding very steady. Now, what this is, it's going to give you a 3D animation, very nice animation of dinosaurs. It's going to start you out by letting you catch a butterfly. Now, the first thing you're going to see, it's going to warn me that I'm too close to my balcony edge, so I had to back away. So I back away, and then it starts up. Okay, can start going here. Okay, and it's going to give me its little intro. Okay, there's the butterfly. You see the butterfly. And I put my hand out, and the butterfly will come to my hand. And that's because the app has recognized the position of my hand and move the animation to synchronize with my hand, which is quite a nice little trick. Okay, so now the butterfly will go away. It was basically there to train me how to interact. Okay, and here's the presentation. It stands out. And the first thing you're going to see is a little dinosaur come up out of the rocks. There he comes. I hope you see them. Okay, he's going to chase the butterfly a little bit. Okay, it may be hard to see in your resolution. The butterfly's flitting around above the little dinosaur, and he's going to leap and try to follow it. Okay, now he looks at me for a little bit, and I kind of wave at him to get his attention. That's part of the interaction. You can get the attention of the dinosaurs by moving about and moving toward them. So he looks at me for a while. I get too close, and the background shows through to keep me safe. So I go throwing myself over the balcony. And the dinosaur runs away because we just heard the big dinosaur come into the screen. Okay, and we're going to play with him too. He's going to notice us, and I'm going to act friendly. You can also act aggressive. If you act aggressive, he'll try to snap at your hand. But if you act friendly, he'll just look you over and sniff at you, and you can move toward him if you wish, and play with him. And as I say, this is the friendly version. There's an aggressive version where he'll really be biting at you. Okay, now he turned away for a moment because he heard a sound. I have the sound that comes with it turned off, but there are dinosaur sounds and weather sounds and so forth. Okay, now he's backed off because He's a little concerned that another dinosaur has come in and they're going to snarl and kind of fight with each other. I don't know what they're fighting over. I figure they're either trying to decide who's going to eat you or who's going to mate with you, one or the other. Um, but the other one will notice you too. But the original one will chase him off because, as far as the original one's concerned, is you belong to him. Okay. Now, each time you run this, you get uh, different outcomes. For example, in a different version of it, I'm going to stop for a second here. The little dinosaurs come back out, this time in a big swarm of them, a lot of them. So it actually is adapting to what you do. It gives you different video plays depending upon your interaction. Okay, this one is called Jig Space. And this is a very nice little three-dimensional viewer where you've made a three-dimensional model. And it shows you how it can be used for training or for marketing or whatever. I'm going to bring up a Formula One racer. I'm going to choose that and clicking my fingers together. I choose a spot in the balcony here. And that's one of the reasons I needed a big space because it goes big. Okay. And now I can manipulate this. I'm going to move some of the covers and let the cover off. I'm going to do a little bit more of that. Now you can walk all around this. I can walk through it. I can walk behind it, whatever I want to do. I can lift up the entire thing and rotate it around. Let me put the engine cover over there and bring off the side. Okay, so now we can look inside the racer. Um, and as you can see, there's also info box that tells you about it. You could make that go away and just look at the racer by itself. There's the engine. It is the engine, right? Yeah, I think that's the engine. Okay. That's really very nice. Now, I'm going to pause this for 1 second. They also have a aircraft engine. Uh, there it says repair manual. If you play that one, there's a narration that shows you how to take apart this box and replace components on the inside and put it back together. That would be under the heading of a training video for use by a corporation. Okay. Now the next one we're going to see is called the Insight Heart. So we'll go to that. Okay. Now this is an educational one. It's going to show you a human heart. And if I had the sound up, you would be hearing the beating noises, that kind of thing. I can zoom this, I can rotate it around. I didn't do that in this video, but you can do that. Oh, I did do it. I forgot I did that. Okay. You can see you can rotate it around. And it's going to bring up a little options menu. Here I can look at different ways of viewing the heart. Here's just the vessels alone, none of the muscles shown. Is everyone hearing me? Is there any problem? Okay. Um, okay. And I think that's the last item that I put up. Yeah, that's the end of it. Okay. So, why don't you go ahead and unmute and ask me questions, and we'll see what you think.
Question on some of the controls with that. I mean, most of what you're showing is opening apps and manipulating windows using one hand, maybe two hands to do it. Um, how is it handling text input and the
See
things?
that movie and kid.
Okay. Uh, Text input is handled with a virtual keyboard. A keyboard will appear in front of you, and then you can poke at it with your finger, just like this, to type in characters. Another way to handle it is you can take any Bluetooth keyboard and pair it to the Vision Pro. And by using the augmented reality mode, where you can still see down here while looking up here, you can type in stuff that way as well. Oh, and finally, it does have voice recognition, and I've actually used that quite a lot. That seems to be very reliable with the unit.
Let's see, not so much battery life. I'm hearing it has a battery of about 2 hours.
That's correct. I often use it just plugged into the wall myself. Now, people note that uh, they feel their limit of using it is around 30 to 45 minutes before it begins to just get too uncomfortable. Um, I haven't felt that myself. You know, I put it on with just that standard rear only strap, and it's just been fine. Um, but other people, you know, have indicated that it can't handle that. And I've watched very long movies with it without any trouble.
H model.
But I'm probably not the typical person with a typical bone structure to do that. Um, you know, one comment is when I was first setting it up, I had a lot of trouble getting my eyes recognized by it because it kind of set back and, you know, beneath my brows. Um, and it actually was having some trouble finding me. Um, Took a few tries to figure out how I had to kind of open up and raise up where it don't see me. And that's one problem I do have, by the way. When I move my hands, I sometimes tend to look at my hand, and that's the wrong thing to do because just when you're selecting something to click on, you move your vision, and now you're clicking on something else. So you have to watch out for that.
Right.
Makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
Have you played around with range on this thing at all? Going from you know, I'm assuming that all of the internet connections it has are just to your local Wi-Fi network. Is that right?
Well, I've used it on several different Wi-Fi networks without any trouble. Uh, and you may recall I used it at Panera the other day. Um, as for how far it can communicate with Wi-Fi, I don't know, but I've taken it outside my apartment, so you know it's enough to do what I need it to do.
There's a question in
Of
chat,
course,
Rob. Okay, go ahead.
oh,
Sorry.
let me
I
see
want to
what's in
repeat the
chat.
question out loud.
Yeah, might want to read it out loud, or I can if you like.
Okay. Do I feel nauseous or dizzy? I spent several years riding the CTA in Chicago, especially around the loop. And you may not know what that means, but basically it means that I will never be motion sick again in my entire life. Uh, okay, I've been well trained, uh, but I can understand if people do feel nauseous or they might find it disturbing. Um, now what's the application? For vision impaired. Hmm. No, I mean this is a visual device, and you know I think any amount of significant vision impairment is going to basically make it a non-starter. Uh,
Well, wouldn't, but
so
if somebody has just some impairment, it might be useful to clear, I mean, to clear it, don't you think?
well, maybe you know I've known people that have been good photographers with significant visual impairment. Um,
Yeah.
you know, so there is that possibility, but No, I don't know. I'm not going to push in that direction because that seems to be, something that
Yeah.
uh, might be problematic.
My expectation would be that someone who is extraordinarily nearsighted or farsighted for that matter, um, could use this to become a more functional person because they could actually get the intermediate focal depths that they could not otherwise get and still maintain some spatial awareness. I'm
Well, that
unclear,
is a point.
you know,
Yeah, if you're
I'm unclear in
nearsighted,
that
very
point.
nearsighted, yeah, very nearsighted, you probably don't need much of a corrected lens inside the device. And yet, because you're looking at a display generated by a video camera that's looking outside for you, you're going to get the depth of field that its particular f-stop permits, and that's quite deep. So there is that. Um, on the other hand, I wouldn't try to tell a police officer that I see so much better with this than my own eyes.
Yeah.
But in comparison with that, I have a friend who actually attends most of the normal functions of life, but his eyesight is so extraordinarily short-sighted that he relies upon the camera on his phone at a distance about 1 inch from his nose to see anything going on more than 6 feet away.
Well, to read very fine print, I have to raise my glasses like this to get to the really strong magnification on the bottom. These are progressive. Um, and I do admit to using the magnifier on my iPhone to read the really, really fine print in my life.
Yeah.
Um, but
Now, that
things
being
goes.
said, I do not recommend that anybody actually wear these things outside for any reason.
Right.
Well, I would say that if you're in a good area and walking about carefully, and you know what you're doing using the AR, you're reasonably all right. I mean, I felt comfortable out on the walkway area of my apartment. Um, and there will be many occasions where you're going to want to use the Vision Pro to do a 3D recording of something outside. On the other hand, I kind of suspect that most of my 3D recording is going to be via the Canon dual lens setup because that does a bit more a wide angle view, and also because the camera is able to adjust things like ISO and the shutter speed for the video and that kind of thing. Uh, it may work out better. Um, and then, of course, as I mentioned, there's also the iPhone capability, which is pretty good. Not as good as the Vision Pro or the Canon, but it's not bad.
Mhm.
Would you see yourself wearing it on an airplane for a long flight?
Um, I'm gonna have to wait and see how the social acceptance of this goes. If it becomes a normal thing where people say, "Oh, well, that's nice. He's using his Vision Pro," then maybe. Um, but I don't think I'm going to be the first one to try that. We'll see how it goes. Besides, getting it through TSA, wonderful.
Yeah. Thinking along those lines also, what about audio?
The audio is done by bring this back over through these little side-mounted speakers right here. This is one. You can see the little slot here on the back edge for it, which directs into your ears. Um, I am told that people who are real close by you can hear the audio, so it's really not a private audio. And it may be better to pair it with your AirPods than to depend upon that. Um, but that's what it is using.
Could you use this with other hearing uses? I mean, obviously, Studio Max headphones are not going to work well with this. What about AirBuds Pro?
If it's a Bluetooth, it should work. So anything connect with you Bluetooth should be able to pair and use. I know it pairs with the AirPods here. I've not tried it with other devices, but it should be fine.
There's more comments about the specifics where it might be helpful for vision.
Let's see, tunnel vision. I'm, I'm not familiar with these things and how you might have a prosthesis effect with this. But we'll see. Maybe somebody will try it, and maybe people start writing papers on it and find out.
Yeah. I'll give one possibility with this. Allison Sheridan over at the Notilicast has been posting videos of vendors that she has been seeing this year at CES, and showed one company that has a demonstration of what various visual problems are using a pair of VR goggles, not Apple's specifically, but you can get a feel for what macular degeneration actually looks like and feels like, and what retinitis pigmentosa actually looks and feels like. And as a company, I know some of them are actually working to find ways to visually compensate for that by emphasizing parts of the lost vision in the goggles.
Yeah.
Mm.
That makes perfectly
notice
sense to me. It just seems very intuitive.
Yeah. Now, David here is asking about putting the battery in a pocket. Actually, no trouble at all. I slip it right into my Levi's pockets, and it's just fine. So that's not difficult. Of course, if you want to spend more money, Belkin does make a little clip-on holder for the battery. But that doesn't seem to be a real problem. Sure, I've seen it, but this is the battery here. So it is pretty much pocket sizes. Easily goes into your pants, or I suppose you could even put it into a shirt pocket if you want. A little heavy. I think it would work out better in a pants pocket than a shirt pocket, because this will really drag down your collar if you put it in your shirt. But it goes there. By the way, I've noticed that here at the cable end, it does appear that this cable could be replaced if it needs to be. There's, it looks detachable, not by the end user, but there are suspicious little holes here and stuff that indicate that there probably some tooling that will let you take this off and replace it. Because I was worried that this cable is going to get a lot of flexing and a lot of movement, and every now and then you're going to drop the battery and it's going to jerk and that kind of thing. So that could be something to worry about. Another interesting thing about it is that the preferred way of turning it on and off is to simply set it down and pick it up. There's no routine shutdown or anything like that. It will shut down itself after 24 hours of inactivity to preserve the battery. But it should start up as soon as you pick it up again. If not, what you're supposed to do, if it's off and you don't know the first method, by the way, notice how I'm removing the front here without grasping this part. I'm grasping this part. That's because this part here has famously been remarked, is only held on by magnets, so I can easily separate it. So if I was to grab it like so, I might end up dropping my Vision Pro, as this comes away in my hand. But anyway, The way to start it up is to stare in the front and press this top button down for about 12 seconds, and that will start it up. It has to be held like this anti-label and got to press. The other way that is guaranteed to work is simply take the battery cable off, put it back on. And that will definitely restart it.
Hmm.
Have you looked at some of the apps in the Vision Pro App Store? I'm curious if I'm looking at a 3D app, if the preview is in 3D.
No, it's not.
Hmm.
You know, the App Store does have a tab setting to say that you look at only the stuff for the Vision Pro, but so far none of the previews seem to have been in 3D. That's probably a limitation of the kind of file that you're able to upload to the App Store for its catalog.
Dan is asking
There
in
was
chat.
also,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. Anyone watching tonight have a Vision Pro? I don't know. Go ahead and let us know if you do. Not hearing a lot of comments,
No,
so maybe
no, I
not.
think Robert's the only one.
They sold out about 200,000 right away. But as I mentioned, the noticeable fraction returned them before the 14-day limit, which I'm sure was their pre-planned method of getting to use one for free for 14 days. But it did sell out quickly, and I'm sure that's mostly to developers and content creators and pundits that needed to have one to review and so on. And we'll see as time goes on how that works out.